back to Bangalore. Well, it's been the talk of the town. Elected representatives of the people of Karnataka watching pornography inside the assembly while the assembly was in session. Now, we've heard a lot about what politicians have to think about it. The BJP actually commending those 3 ministers for actually resigning. And of course, the opposition making the most of it, putting the BJP in an awkward spot, perhaps forgetting some of the skeletons in their own closet. But now it's time to hear from young Bangalore. We're here at a college in the city to hear what students have to say. And we're also joined by Geeta Menon of the Stree Jagrati Samiti, who will give us the point of view of the women's groups, and also by Vikram Hemanathan. Now he's a member of the Slut Walk Bangalore movement. To start with, we'll just get a few quick reactions from some of the students here. When you first saw the news on television, read the news in the newspaper, what were your thoughts, your instant reaction?
How could the MPs, the MLAs and the MPs do such things?
Okay.
It's like horrendous. If they are doing such things, what do you expect their sons to do?
Okay, all right. What were your thoughts?
I strongly felt that we need to educate the ministers. We need to have a training session for them because they're the employees of the country. It's really wrong on their part to do such thing in an assembly.
Education for the ministers. And what were your thoughts when you heard?
Well, it was not surprising at all. In past, there have been instances where politicians and public representatives are involved in women exploitation and indecent representation of women.
Okay, so sadly, not a surprise then for many people here. So, Geeta, to come to you, do you see this as an issue that perhaps women get more worked up about? Is it something which could be considered a women's issue, or is it really for everyone?
I think we must stop labeling it as a woman's issue or a man's issue, because the whole issue smacks of cultural hypocrisy. Basically, it comes from this whole issue of cultural schizophrenia that we have in our country, where we have a most modernism that is projected in our society, and on the other hand, we have the most feudal-like thinking. I just give an example, like in terms of what Mr. C.C. Patil had a few months back said about the dress code. And I would like to mention here, it's not really about the dress code. What we have to talk about is not about the genes, but actually about the genes.
The genes, yes,
And this is the genetic imprint that we have, where this kind of hypocrisy is very common. I mean, these are the same people who talk about having a dress code, and these are the same people who talk about moral policing, and they talk about culture. And culture is not at all either woman or man. It is in the mindset of men and women who are displaying their atrocitic beliefs this way.
The issue of hypocrisy, that of course has been something that's been raised, that perhaps the leaders say something and mean something else. Now, Vikram, you try to organize a slut walk in the city of Bangalore, the slut walk being to show that it's not about how women dress. That's not the reason why they're attacked. You were not able to do so. You were not given permission to do so. What is your take on this entire episode?
It has been proved scientifically that clothes have nothing to do with sexual harassment or being in a position of power to harass somebody. It has been shown that on numerous occasions that it is about power. It's being in a position that you kind of exploit and kind of get to those kind of actions. But at the same time, having double standards per se, and validating the argument that there is such a huge need for sensitization, for education, and primarily from our administrators. It's really, really sad to see that at one particular point they were so against it and, you know, have kind of put us down. And
the police actually stopped permission for that walk, right?
Right, absolutely. It was cancelled the night before around 8 p.m. So it's really unfortunate that the administrators are so hypocritical, and the cultural argument is, you know, it's always put forward. It's against our culture. We should think, and especially seeing somebody from the ruling party's women's rights organization who went as far as saying we should trash women on the streets who come out in skimpy clothes. Something like this happening from the ruling party in the state is very deplorable.
We've had a lot of condemnation really, but let's just see if there is perhaps another point of view. This has been, of course, an issue that's hogged the headlines of the media. Is there anybody here who feels that perhaps too much of an issue has been made about it? Yes, well, what are your thoughts?
This is just a political gimmick. Everybody is involved in such activities. It's just that these 3 ministers happened to be caught in such an act of watching porn in the assembly.
So everybody watches porn.
Everybody does. The case of Bhavri Devi in Rajasthan, it's linked to Congress party. Now they are targeting BJP in Karnataka. They are just adding up to the Goa Beach Festival they made an issue of earlier.
So you're saying that it's not such an issue, it's just politics, is it? You don't feel that there was anything wrong that they were doing there?
Everybody it happens everywhere.
Okay.
It's just they were caught with that at that moment.
Okay, so their problem was being caught. What do you think? Do you think it's just too big an issue?
I think the issue is being misrepresented because I think watching porn is not the issue. Porn is very normal. People watch it.
Okay.
And we are focusing more on porn as of the moment.
Okay.
And it's kind of like sleeping in the parliament sleeping in an assembly is as bad as watching porn. It's not the porn which was bad. It was the act of not. They were watching porn. They were doing anything else other than making laws or discussing issues that
not paying attention to the
not paying attention because they are there. We put them over there to discuss issues that concern us, and they're not doing that, which is wrong.
Watching porn is not an issue. How do you respond to that?
I think watching porn is an issue because the whole issue of it's not just watching porn, it's the whole issue of how they relate this whole activity of watching porn to the whole issue of women's body, women as a commodity. Because why don't you watch men nude? You know, why don't you watch porn where there is men nude? Or why is it that the woman is only projected in these porn movies, or her body is projected in these porn movies? So it's not just about watching porn. It's also about the kind of governance that is there. And where governance issues, where our tax money is being paid, where governance issues have to be raised in the assembly, those issues are not raised at all. And there's so much of time spent on either sleeping, as he said, or passing off time. And now this has become the latest activity because this is the latest technological with them.
Okay, now who else thinks that, we've heard him say that porn is not an issue. Who believes that porn is an issue really, that it should not? What is your take on this?
It is a shame for entire political party because it was this BJP who spoke so much about Indian culture and women. So it's really shameful for our country. And I think they even banned celebrating Valentine's Day. When youngsters do it, they have problem with it. And now what are they doing in assembly? I don't think
hypocrisy
it's
again.
Yeah.
Any other people, like as a young woman yourself, would you feel uncomfortable if you knew that somebody was watching porn close to you in your presence or something? Do you have an issue with people watching pornography?
Watching pornography is something common in this generation. That's what I feel. But when I heard that MLAs were doing it in the assembly, they are ruling the ruling party, and I feel it's very shameful when they do something and they're as we heard, they cancelled slut walk and they're again celebrating Valentine's Day and all that. So
it was for you more the location where they were doing when they were watching pornography, not pornography itself.
Pornography, I think yes, that's the main issue of it. But again, watching pornography is kind of disrespectful, disrespectful for women. And I think it's a shame that we had to face such MLAs in our country.
Anybody else who thinks that pornography itself is not the issue? What are your thoughts on this?
I feel, as you said, that the entire scandal reeks of hypocrisy. The fact that one of the ministers handles the portfolio of women and child development, that comes as a big shocker to me because as a student, I really was shocked. I kept switching channels and I came to know he handled women and child, the portfolio of that. So I was like, how can a man who stands up for something like that watch pornography in the assembly? I'm all right if he does watch it in his private house or whatever. But in the assembly, I don't think that was right behavior on his part.
Yeah, so there was one of the tweets that said what the MLAs do in the privacy of their bedrooms is one thing.
Exactly.
But it's a problem, it's a major problem if it's done in the assembly. So not the issue of pornography itself. Now, you seem very uncomfortable with that idea.
No, I would just like to not project this as a moral or immoral issue. I just like to take that off because this smacks of their own morality, whoever watches it, I'm not against a person. It's a personal issue. It's a personal reason why you watch it maybe. But I'm only concerned because this whole entire promotion of pornographic material today, especially when the sex trafficking is at its highest and where very vulnerable girls are being pushed into this through pornography, through pornographic movies, that is where the whole thing arises.
So pornography can really mean exploitation. Yes, what is your point?
I
I don't think it's about watching porn or not watching it. It's not about cultural ethics or hypocrisy. I think it's more to do with professionalism, and as citizen representatives, they cannot afford to do it in the highest institution of democracy.
Okay, all right, so that question of hypocrisy. So we'll be heading into a short break now. We'll be back in a few minutes. So the issues that have really been raised here, hypocrisy, of course, the biggest one. The place where people were actually watching pornography, even if watching pornography itself was not the hugest issue. And is it professional for elected representatives to be spending their time in the assembly watching porn? We'll be back in a short